And Citadel Greyline is back on the air. This is the program presented by IPS Packaging and Automation, Daybreak Adult Care Services, Pedigo Electric Bikes with locations in both Aiken and in West Columbia, South Carolina, and also presented in part by y'all.com, the South's homepage, and Franklin Plumbing and Drain Services based in Columbia, SC. Hello, Jon Rawl is my name. Welcome into season 16 of our program that we get together each week during the football season and talk about Citadel sports and more. And we do that thanks to you, our great followers on our Facebook page, also those of you who catch us each and every week that they were up and going with our iTunes podcast. Pretty neat way to keep up with the dogs if you have that option out there. Check us out. And those of you also, I should have said this at some point during the season, we've got a lot of people who catch us on Lords of Discipline, the Citadel message board. Thank you for all of you who make that effort each and every week to find us there as we have a good program now, again, 16 years in the making. Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier has joined me. We'll go to him in just a second. Thomas Scruggs is out today. We're actually doing the show this week a day earlier than we normally do due to the Thanksgiving holiday. And Thomas has decided to attend his company's Thanksgiving party today. So, pooey on you, Thomas. You are really missing out on a good show. But we'll let him do that and have a good presence there with his company on this Thanksgiving week edition of our penultimate broadcast of the Citadel for this 16th season. Now, while Thomas is having a good time having turkey, well, you got two turkeys here talking about Citadel sports and more. We got Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier. I hope you're getting ready for a big Thanksgiving, sir.
Well, it was going to be a big Thanksgiving. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you and all the Citadel fans out there. And thanks for tuning in. But, yeah, it was going to be a big one. And then my youngest daughter, she's now going to stay with her in-laws down in Alabama this week. And then my wife's aunt, who usually joined us for the holidays, is not here. So actually, we're kind of scrambling to figure out what we're going to do. We might actually go out to a restaurant and have someone else cook us Thanksgiving. But yeah, looking forward to a couple of down days here at the Post and Courier.
Well, just tell me what time to come over and what to wear.
Yeah, well, the problem is we haven't bought the turkey yet. So that was actually a good thing that my wife didn't do it until she was going to do it today, and we still are just kind of up in the air on what we're going to do. But then actually Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, I'm actually doing the turkey trot, the gobble wobble downtown in Marion Square, and writing a story about that. So I will be working on Thanksgiving.
Wow. Well, a few years back, not that you need my advice on what to do on Thanksgiving Day when you aren't cooking for yourself, I happen to be in a place I think you know a little bit about. It's called Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, on Thanksgiving Day. And at that time, a place called Sticky Fingers had a really good Thanksgiving meal that they had for people. Unfortunately, just in Charleston area a couple of days ago, Sticky Fingers I don't think exists anymore, Andrew. What was up with that?
You are correct. They sold that, I want to say, a couple of years ago. Now there's a taco place. Like I think it's called the White Duck. For some reason, I think that's the name of it, but it's based out of Asheville. But yeah, they actually gone there for tacos a couple of times. But yeah, I was actually kind of looking around. We did do one year. We did a very good friend of mine, a guy named Hank Holiday. He used to own Hank's Seafood and the Peninsula Grill and the Planters Inn. He actually had us down to the the Peninsula Grill for Thanksgiving, and that was one of the best Thanksgiving meals. Don't tell my wife that I've ever had. I think she would agree with that as well. We had a great time there, and unfortunately, Mr. Hank does not own that establishment anymore. Although he probably could get us in. I don't even know who serves Thanksgiving meals around here on Thanksgiving Day. So trust me, that's research that I'm going to do right when we get off the air.
Well, if all else fails, Andrew, hopefully your eyesight's good. You can go on Thursday, you can go where I went just before doing today's show. It's the first time I've ever done this, but prior to a Citadel Greyline broadcast. And if I seem a little happier and my performance today is a lot better, well, frankly, it's because of this place. Can you see that?
The Waffle House.
That's right. I
Yes.
got me some good Waffle House, and they're always open on the big holidays. So don't think they got turkey, but hey, always a good recommendation. And cadets know well the beauty of a Waffle House visit late in the night. We're talking about food. We're talking about Thanksgiving. What we're not talking about here on Gray Line is that 0-11 Bulldog football team. We're going to try to make sense of this. If you've got questions for Andrew about Maurice Drayton's ball club, please hit us up. We're trying to put any kind of positive spin that we possibly can on arguably, really not even arguably, the worst season in Bulldog sports history. And first off, before we get into the game they just played at Johnson City, Andrew, that game was played Saturday. We're a couple days past that now. Has there been any kind of news, developments, anything at all coming out of the program?
Not anything that would be earth shattering or the program changing. I fully anticipate Maurice Drayton to be back next year. I do wonder about the coaching staff there. I think just because guys move on and other guys move out and whatever, I think there will be some changes. Do I think that Maurice Drayton is going to fire some of his assistant coaches? I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe he'll encourage guys to look at other opportunities and then kind of go from there. I think what his mindset is, look, we inherited this program. We inherited what we got. Why am I going to fire guys and not give them the full tools that they need to work with and see what kind of coaches they really are? I know there have been a lot. I've gotten a couple of emails, a couple of text messages about are there going to be any staff shakeups? I don't anticipate that. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. That doesn't mean that it's that somebody won't move on. I think if I was in charge, I would probably make a couple of changes to the staff. But people are going to probably ask me where I would make those changes. I think they'd be more defensive than offensive. I'm not saying
Really?
I thought Raleigh Jackson at times was really good this year. Like put guys in positions to make plays. So I think his scheme is good, but there was some, there's some people that I think that maybe need to look other places. Like I said, I would change more things defensively than I would offense.
What unit, Andrew, suffered the most from a injury standpoint?
From an injury standpoint, really, I mean, the offensive backfield to me was the most decimated out of any of the positions out there. I mean, you're talking about Akeem Elmore, who at the beginning of the year was probably your fourth string running back, if he even was a running back. He played a lot of snaps. Johnny Crawford, who was supposed to be the backup, he was out. Cooper Wallace, he missed the last 3 games of the season. So you're really down to your third or fourth string running back at that point. And then obviously quarterback. I think Dustin Fletcher, he really showed flashes of being a pretty good passer and being able to run that offense. And he played basically a game and a half. So I think offensively, those were the biggest issues. Now, Carson Hatchard, the defensive end, he got hurt. He didn't play pretty much the entire season. He's going to come back, I think, next year. But to me, most of their problems were, at least injury-wise, were on the offensive side of the ball.
Have you heard anything about people who've already made that definitive decision on next year, player-wise?
No, not yet. No, I know they're going through exit interviews today. They've got more player meetings with the coach. This is standard for basically any team, any organization, at any level, professional or college. At the end of the year, you kind of have an exit interview with the head coach. And I know that Coach Drayton is going through that right now. I know they're also I was able to chat with him yesterday, and he's really optimistic about their recruiting. He thinks that they're going to have some early recruits that will sign in the early signing period, which they didn't have any obviously last year. And they're getting a lot of looks from people that they normally don't get looks from. So he's really hoping that, again, got to build that foundation. 16 true freshmen played this year. That's almost half of the class, more than half the signing class that came in this year. So there are going to be a couple of guys on the all-freshman team, the SoCon freshman team. So I think that from that standpoint, he's done a good job. Obviously, you got to build on that. And he said the 0-11 record really hasn't deterred people from coming and visiting the Citadel, which is great. It just shows you what kind of recruiter that Maurice Drayton is.
We shall see, of course, the early signing days coming up in December. What is that going to be, like the third Wednesday in
I think it's December 20th this year.
December 20th? Okay, and then the
Yep.
first Wednesday in February is that second signing day of college football. We're powered in part here on this program by Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Call them at 803-281-2974 for a 24-hour emergency service available in the Columbia area Monday through Thursday. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a stellar team of plumbers led by a class of 1994 member of the Citadel. And Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning has full-service plumbing, gas, drain, and other expert services available. Check out their website, franklinplumbingse.com, and when you go there, you can find a $250 off coupon for a sewer replacement, exactly what I need, and evidently the Citadel could use some kind of replacement with things the way they go this past year on the gridiron. $250 off again, franklinplumbingse.com, the website to learn more about that. We're also powered in part by another Columbia area business, Daybreak Adult Care Services, with locations in Lexington and in Aiken County. The number to call in the Columbia, Lexington area, 356-4451, Aiken, 226-0288. Daybreak Adult Care Services with personal in-home care in the privacy and security of your own home. They help in the aging. If you have someone who's aging and needs help, they can help out with sitting services. Also, they have the ability to help with all kinds of cleaning options and more. It's Daybreak Adult Care with help with respite care, also dementia care, Alzheimer's care, and if you have someone who had a surgery and just need a little home care post-surgery, feel free to consider Daybreak Adult Care Services. DaybreakCare.com is the website. Again, Daybreak Adult Care Services, another Citadel-led company and a great presenter of Citadel Gray Line each and every week. Okay, so we've gotten the recap from Andrew of kind of what may or may not have happened these last couple of days in the Citadel football world. Go back to the last Saturday. It was the final game of the season there at Johnson City, and the Dogs ended up losing. Man, this was a win for ETSU, and news comes out after that game that they beat the Citadel, that they dismissed their coach after 2 years there in Johnson City. So at least one of the two coaches no longer has a job as of this past finale game of Saturday. Andrew, your thoughts on what happened there? Did the Citadel really blow a chance to pick up a win to at least go into the offseason a little bit more upbeat?
Yeah, they did. Again, I thought that was a game going into it that they could have won. I think I did mention that I thought Wofford and ETSU were their best chances to win the last two games of the season. Obviously disappointing that they didn't win. They go 11, first time ever that they've lost 11 games. And you're right. I think you can safely say that's the worst season in Citadel football history. No question, no matter what happened in 1918 when they went 0-2-1. So very disappointing. I know the one thing that I noticed was that if the players had just given up, if they didn't care about the team or playing for their guy next to them or the seniors or whatever, being down what they were at halftime up at Johnson City on the road, it would have been easier for them to give up. And instead of giving up, I thought they played one of their best really halves of football their entire season. To be honest with you, maybe the first half against Mercer, they might have played a little bit better, a little bit more energy in that one. But if anybody thought they were going to give up and just mail it in those last 30 minutes, they didn't. They fought hard. I thought they outplayed East Tennessee State in the second half. They were just down too big of a hole. Obviously set highs in yards and points during the game, and they just didn't finish drives, which had really been their Achilles heel all season long. Turnovers and not finishing off drives. And really when you're playing kind of offense that they're playing, it's ball control. They use a lot of the clock, so the defense doesn't have to be on the field all the time. You've got to finish off drives. And say what you want to about Brent Thompson, his teams usually could finish off drives, and that's one of the reasons that they played really good complementary football. And this year, one of the things that Maurice and I talked about the other day was how they couldn't get the three phases of the game to play complementary football all in the same game. One game the special teams would play good. One game the defense would play good. One game the offense would play good, but they never get all three phases to play good all at the same time. Everyone's disappointed. Trust me, no one's more disappointed than Maurice Drayton and those guys in that locker room. I can tell you that. But if he thought that they were going to give up or they didn't care, I thought they answered that question pretty emphatically in the second half.
Well, again, the Citadel's got a big hand behind their back out there offensively with a quarterback who wasn't really set up to run this kind of offense, a quarterback that really, remember, even in the 2022 season, was riding the bench that whole season until Western Carolina, and he comes off the bench and leads the Bulldogs to a rather surprising win and ends up having a nice swan song to 2022. But other players, like you mentioned, Cooper Wallace out injury-wise. This is a tough ask for this Bulldog offense. And you were talking earlier about, hey, if I were in charge, I would be making some changes. I was a little surprised that you said that you would likely maybe look at the defensive side for a potential switching up of coordinators, if that's even an option. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about the offensive side as the Citadel brought in a newcomer as the offensive coordinator, Patrick Covington. Now, he came to the Dogs from Lamar over in Texas, and Lamar hasn't necessarily been a powerful FCS program. And are you aware about what kind of offense he was running in the past and just your evaluation of Covington here in 2023, Patrick Covington, the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, again, I would not replace Raleigh Jackson as defensive coordinator.
Okay.
I would. No, I don't want to say because I don't want to go and get anyone mad at me. There'd be other positions that I would change, other position coaches that I would change on that side. Pat Covington, I think what he's trying to do was trying to run what the kind of offense that they ran at Coastal Carolina. It's an option-based offense up there, and I think that's what he's trying. I think that's the ultimate goal, the ultimate blueprint that he's working with, and I think that's what Maurice Drayton wants. If you've watched Coastal Carolina, and they don't run it quite as much this year as they've done in the past 2 or 3 years. Jamie Chadwell has left, obviously. He's up at Liberty now, and obviously doing a great job up there with their program. But that's more of what he's looking to run, and that is just a complete contrast in what the Citadel has done in the past.
Okay.
And I just think it's going to take a little while, and there's a reason that the quarterback is the most important position on the field. All right, and nothing against Grayson Underwood. I think he does the best with the tools that he has at his disposal now. But what they really need is a running back, and that's what they didn't have all year long. They didn't have that big Everett Sands, Travis Gervais type of running back. And I'm blanking on the guy who's from Walterboro, who played Nehemiah Broughton. That would be another running back that would come to mind. And that's what they haven't had. And I think in a perfect world, if you don't have that guy in your program now, what you would do is go get a graduate transfer and bring him in at running back. And that would be, to me, my number one priority if I was Maurice Drayton, is bringing in an established running back. And hopefully Dustin Fletcher's healthy next year, or you sign a quarterback, or you bring a quarterback in via the transfer portal. That's what I would do. But again, it's an option-style offense. I think it will work at the Citadel. I think it's proven that it can work, this kind of offense at military schools, even though I think it's kind of a little bit more what Air Force runs. But, yeah, it is more what Coastal Carolina does. And I really like their offense, and I thought that could work at the Citadel.
Patrick Covington, by the way, I'll give you the Knob Knowledge Trivia prize, Andrew, if you can tell me this. I'm sure you know it, but he played college football where?
Oh, yeah, oh, gosh. That one I could not tell you.
Hey, Andrew,
Yeah.
F you, man.
Oh, he played Furman?
Yeah, he sure did.
Okay, all right. I guess I should have known that.
That's fine. He sabotaged the Bulldogs. That's why they were struggling this year. And Furman wins the Southern Conference. By the way, congratulations to Furman on that feat. They had a heck of a year.
That is inexcusable and befuddling how they could lose to Wofford.
Well, they got their eye on the playoff, I guess.
Yeah, that was. I'm trying. Citadel should have beaten Wofford at Johnson Haygood 2 weeks ago. So anyway,
Yeah, Citadel should, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
yeah.
But yeah, some info on Patrick Covington during that game. By the way, if you don't mind, Andrew, help me out. I got on some kind of thread, I guess because of this show, and people started texting me, and I'll just clean this up a little bit, and you tell me if you have anything you want to add. But Texter sent something in that said VMI just beat Western Carolina to finish 4-4 in SoCon play with 100% cadets, by the way. Don't want to hear anyone BS about not being able to win with just cadets. Our brand is being tarnished. And then another text comes in that says, do you think Drayton should be replaced or give him another year or what? That one I didn't answer. And then somebody texted about New Mexico State beating Auburn, which was pretty shocking. So, bad things happen to football programs no matter what level. But someone said, give Maurice time to build something. But VMI has proven that you can win with all cadets is what this, I guess, purpose of this text coming in here was. But anything you want to say or add to that?
Well, I mean, Nick Saban, sorry, not Lou Saban. He's the old Buffalo Bills coach. Nick Saban lost to, who did they lose to? Louisiana Monroe the first year he was there, right? So, I mean, I always say to people, you got to give them a chance. I think you give every coach 4 years, not in the last. And hey, now if they're 0-22 next year, then yeah, I think you got to ask some questions. You got to see some changes in there, at the very least at the coordinator level and with their assistant coach. No question about it. But I'm not going to judge anybody really until the end of their third year. That's when I really kind of start to formulate an opinion on a coach, especially somebody who's coming in and completely kind of changing everything that you do. Lou Holtz went 0-11 his first year at South Carolina, and then they went 8-4. Do I think there's going to be a big enough that big of a turnaround? For Maurice's sake and for the sake of Bulldog fans out there, yeah, I hope that they can turn it around. But I think you'll see some improvement from this year to next year. That'll start showing up in the win column. One thing he does do very well is he recruits very well, and I think he's going to bring those guys in. And if you ask Maurice Drayton what he wanted to do, yes, he wants to build this program from the ground up, meaning that he wants to bring in his guys and make them all cadets. In a perfect world, if he could do that, I'm sure that's what he would want to do. But he's also not naive, and he doesn't. He knows that he needs help, and he's going to need help in certain positions immediately, and the portal is the best way to do that. And people who don't embrace the portal, you're going to get left behind. That's all I can tell you. And it's 1 year from Rocco up in. He's a great coach. He's done a great job wherever he's been. But let's see where Rocco is, and let's see where Maurice Drayton is 2 or 3 years down the line. And hey, maybe Rocco will turn out to be the better of the two coaches. Who knows? But I'm not judging anybody.
You talking about at VMI?
VMI, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't have that name memorized.
Is that his name?
It could be. I don't know.
Oh. I'm getting old now.
I've already forgotten the coach that I thought did a heck of a job up there. Won a Southern Conference title just a couple years ago.
Danny Rocco. That's his name.
Okay.
The head coach.
It almost sounds like a nickname, though. That's why you were throwing me off. Like, okay, am I supposed to?
Danny Rocco. And then there's a coach here who used to be coach at Wando High School. I think his first name is Rocco. So but yeah, Danny Rocco. Yeah, and I think he coached at Richmond, if I'm not mistaken. If I could look up his resume here. But yeah, no, he did a really good job. Don't get me wrong. And the guy knows how to coach, and he knows how to coach at this level, and he knows how to recruit. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to VMI because remember they had a start to the season not so great. They were even, I think, tied with the Citadel when they met up in October at the bottom of the conference standings, and they ended up having a really nice finish to the football season. Not that we're bragging on them too much, but just a quick look at the standings, by the way, for the Southern Conference. You do have Furman with the conference outright title with a 7-1 mark. Should have been 8-0, like you said. Inexplicably, they lost to Wofford this past weekend. Mercer and Chattanooga wrap up the season with a 6-2 conference record. Any chance one or both of those make it into the playoffs, in your opinion?
Oh, the playoff has already been announced. Both Mercer and Chattanooga made it.
Okay, so the conference did have three. I should have been paying
Three.
attention.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. They
that's the
had.
first time that's happened in a while.
Yeah, and I don't have the bracket right here in front of me. I can't remember who Mercer is playing, but I know that Furman gets the winner. That they'll get a SoCon opponent in the second round of the playoffs.
Because they get a bye.
Yeah, not for sure. There's a chance. I think they're with Mercer in their bracket. Again, I'd have to go back and look at the bracket. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah. I thought Chattanooga was the second best. To me, they were the second best team in the conference this year. Mercer or Western Carolina third, but Western Carolina blew it when they lost to VMI, and that eliminated their chances of going to the playoffs.
You think the conference could have had four teams get in?
Had Western won, there was a chance. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Western ends up 5-3, missing out on the playoffs. Sanford 4-4, the defending SoCon champion, went down this year. They're 6-5 overall mark. Also a real letdown. They had a nice win to wrap up the season this past weekend, beating UT Martin. VMI, as we said, a 4-4 conference record for the Keydets. They just missed out on a winning season, 5-6 overall. ETSU was 2-6, Wofford 2-6, and then those Dogs at 0-8 conference play, 0-11 total record for Maurice Drayton's ball club. So one thing you've hinted on here before, Andrew, is recruiting. What can you tell us about that as we're 3 to 4 weeks away from that first signing day?
Number one priority for these guys, number one recruit, and I got to see him play last week. I don't know if Maurice Drayton can't comment on it publicly, but the running back at Irmo is their number one recruit. Now his name escapes me again. I'm getting old. I hate it.
You're not old. You're not
Yeah,
old.
AJ Brand is the quarterback at Irmo, and I know they like him a lot too. Um, eh, but the running back is the kind of the number one guy that they're going after, and that's their priority number one. And then just getting athletes who can make plays in space. That's really another thing that they talked a lot about.
How about Jaden Hendricks? Does that sound?
That is, yes, Jaden Allen Hendricks. Yes, I was just looking it up now. Jaden Allen Hendricks, that is his name. He's about 6'1", 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. Has an average 163 yards a game. He's gone over 2,000 yards for the season. He is quite a load, and if they are able to get him, I would think that he would play almost immediately for them. Not unless, again, they bring in a transfer kid from the portal. I know they're looking at a couple of quarterbacks, one being in the transfer portal. You and I have talked about him, but I can't say anything publicly about it just yet. But I would say look around keep your eye out on the Posted Courier and on Twitter or whatever it's called, X now.
Bo Nix is transferring to the Citadel. How about that?
It'll be a name that people in the Low Country should recognize if they end up getting him. I think, and again, Maurice was talking about how recruiting is going really well, and they're getting a lot of guys that really wouldn't have given them a first look in the past. They're getting them to come to the school and look at the school out of high school. These high school kids, and that's because of the portal. So the portal kind of works both ways. It can help you in bringing in guys who are ready to play the immediate they walk on campus, and it can also high school kids can look at the portal and go, oh my goodness, he's coming here, he's coming here, he's coming here. Where am I going to be on this depth chart? Oh, let me look at some other places, and that's going to work to the Citadel's benefit as well too. So I think they're going to have a good recruiting class again this year, and Maurice is going to have a full season to recruit. So I think that's really going to help.
All right. We'll keep our fingers crossed and wish Maurice and all the coaching staff the best in these next few weeks. It's a big off season for Citadel football. I mean, you can only go up, right, when you're 0-11?
Yeah. Yes. No question about it. I always, in my experience throughout sports, it's the coaches who seem to struggle early and players who seem to struggle early and they're in a new environment who end up doing the best at the end of the day. And I don't know why that has been. I can think of 5 or 6 examples, with Lou Holtz being one of them. In the NHL and hockey, and a guy covered Jared Bednar. He had the worst record in the entire NHL the first year he was at the Colorado Avalanche, and 4 years later he's hosting the Stanley Cup. So I've seen it all the time, and yeah, you got to keep. And this was a rough season. There's no doubt about it. There's no easy way to say it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It was a bad season, and there's only, you're right, there's only one way to go, and that's up.
Very well put. And let's keep in mind that Maurice Drayton told us before the first game was ever played this year that we're not a good football team. So
Yeah.
he keeps the honor code intact at the Citadel. He did not lie. He didn't build up this thing to be great. He told us it wasn't a good football team. Maybe we shouldn't have looked lightly at his comment at the time.
Right.
And maybe they weren't a very good football team this year.
And what I liked about him is, you saw in the quotes that he had in the paper, he said, look, if all the public scrutiny should go on me, not on any of the kids, not on anybody else, on me. And so he's not somebody who is passing the buck or looking and pointing fingers in other directions. Then that's the sign of somebody with character. So,
And again, this is a guy who turned down a lot of money, as reported, I think, in the Post and Courier, to be a head coach at his alma mater.
Yeah.
And he's got a plan, and let's hope that plan materializes sooner than
Yep.
later. Speaking of that guy from the Post and Courier, you can reach Andrew on X. His account is AP Miller_P&C. Always a good read there. And always, by the way, with the holiday season upon us, I want to remind you that you can get you a subscription to the Post and Courier. Just go to postandcourier.com and see how you can sign up for Andrew's great stories about Citadel sports and other goings-on in all of South Carolina at postandcourier.com, the perfect Thanksgiving stocking stuffer. Hey, let me let you know about IPS Packaging and Automation, a true champion on and off the field. This is a family-owned and operated business that's been based in Fountain Inn, South Carolina, and they've been a titan in the packaging industry since back in 1976. With 4 decades of their products out on the market, IPS Packaging and Automation stands tall as a leader in all packaging products, automation equipment, and top-notch service. IPS Packaging and Automation plays a crucial role in the packaging process of countless businesses and manufacturing facilities really all over the entire country. And if you didn't know this, Bulldog fans, IPS Packaging and Automation has been supporting Citadel Athletics for the last decade. Discover what they can do for you. Dive onto their website, ipack.com, that's ipack.com, or call them up at 800-277-7007, 800-277-7007. IPS Packaging and Automation, a proud supporter of Citadel Bulldog Sports. And we thank you for their great support. And as we have a week here of great thanks for all that the Lord brings us, I have to mention, as a host of this program for all these years, thank you to IPS for your great support throughout the years. I actually reached out to Derek Murdoch of that company to try to get him on here. Couldn't. Maybe he's on a Thanksgiving hiatus, but maybe we'll get him on for next week. Our final show, by the way, where we'll kind of go through what we expect to be the 2024 schedule, and for one last time kind of walk through this season for football and what we've got coming up in basketball, as well as Bulldog baseball and anything else Citadel from a institution standpoint that needs to be addressed. Thomas Scruggs should be back with us for that. So a housekeeping note, if you've got an email you want to send us, if you want us to address any question, comment, or whatever that you might have, our email address, citadel@yall.com, citadel@yall.com. Happy to share that here. All right, Andrew, let's switch over from the gridiron to the hard court as Bulldog basketball picks up their first win. And a couple days ago, they played North Greenville, a team from a lower division, and the Crusaders went down to the Dogs. So that was a big win for them to get the program going on the right foot from a win standpoint, but still some tough sledding out there for Coach Conroy's basketball Dogs.
Yeah, but they won last night. They beat or yesterday afternoon. They beat Idaho State, and just a great comeback for the Bulldogs and Ed Conroy's bunch. Quentin Malloy Brown hits 2 free throws with 0.4 or 0.2 seconds left in the game. They end up winning 61-59 up at the Campbell Classic. They'll play North Carolina Central today, I think at 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, that game is on Flow Sports, so that's really a tough thing to get a subscription to. It's like $30 a month, so I'll be
You don't
missing that.
have that?
I do not have that. I've
That's a
don't have
business expense.
put that money. Well, you can't write it off as a business expense anymore. Unfortunately, if I could, I would. But yeah, they had a great game yesterday. They were down 8 with about a minute and 10 seconds to play, and then Elijah Morgan hit 3 straight 3-pointers, and they actually took the lead. And then Idaho State came down and tried to. So Elijah Morgan hit his final 3 to put him up, I think, 60-59 with 4 seconds to play. And then Idaho State goes the length of the floor. They try to a layup, and they get fouled. It was a very questionable foul call. And then their kid hits a couple of free throws and puts them up 61-60. Or is that right? Yeah, 61-60. And then the Bulldogs inbound the ball, length of the floor. Quentin Malloy Brown, who was called on the previous foul that sent Idaho State to the line, he gets fouled, and then he hits the 2 free throws, and they win. It really was the wildest finish that I've seen in a really long time. But kudos there to Ed Conroy keeping his guys in, and I'm telling you, they're going to be okay. They're going to beat some teams. Although now that you kind of look around, Western Carolina went on the road, and Western Carolina, somebody beat Notre Dame. I think it was Western Carolina went out there and beat Notre Dame. And then another SoCon school, now it escapes me, they had another Power 5 win also earlier in the week. So the conference looks like it's going to be better. But I think the Citadels, they got a chance. They got some guys who can really play. And they're going to make some noise. Like I said, around 500 is what I think.
Yeah, bear with me, Andrew. I have a 13-year-old son who often texts me all kind of random stuff about Citadel and SoCon sports. And so I'll be able to dig that up here in just a second.
Yeah, I think it was Western. I think Western beat Notre Dame, and then there was somebody else.
Well, no, my son sent me a deal about Presbyterian beating Vanderbilt.
They beat Vanderbilt, right? And so that so they knew. I knew that was not going to be an easy game on the road there. Although they had again plenty of chances to win that game that game as well, but. There were 2. UNCG beat somebody.
You're right. He sent me that Friday. He put SoCon upset, and UNCG beat. Did they beat?
Maybe they beat Notre Dame. I can't remember.
Oh well. Kudos to the SoCon. They're doing okay, and the Citadel nearly knocked off, of course, Boston College, and so we're hoping they turn it around. So they got this tournament they're participating in. Love to see this kind of stuff during Thanksgiving week. Live action oftentimes at like 11 o'clock on a weekday morning.
So UNCG beat Arkansas, who was nationally ranked. They were ranked 20th in the country. So, Western Carolina beat Notre Dame, and UNCG beat Arkansas. So a couple of big wins here early on for the Southern Conference in basketball.
Thank you for that research department you got going there at the Post and Courier's Mount Pleasant Bureau.
Yeah. Again, my dad was a dean and taught at UNCG for over 40 years. So I should know that a little bit better.
He's got the house divided license plate there in Mount Pleasant, Citadel and UNCG. So Bulldogs again with UNCC or NCCU rather on this Tuesday, and then Wednesday they've got Campbell in this tournament there at Bowie's Creek. They return home next week as Charleston Southern is the opponent Tuesday night there at McAllister Fieldhouse, the Bucks and the Dogs getting together. And then, hey, Andrew, you'll love this. Your dad can see the Dogs in Greensboro December 2nd when they play at North Carolina A&T.
A&T, yep.
So a lot of time spent in North Carolina for this basketball program. Anything else basketball news-wise we need to share before we move over to volleyball?
No, my dog Bodie is not happy that the door is closed. Go ahead. Yeah, Bodie,
bear with us just a second if you don't mind. We're almost done.
I was gonna say here. I'll do a
Bodie cam. Oh, how cute! How cute! All right, thank you for that. Now our ratings just shot through the roof.
Yep.
Let's talk about volleyball for a second, Andrew.
Oof, yeah, disappointing there. Yeah, at the very least, I thought that they would get to the SoCon championship game, and obviously got upset in the semifinals by Wofford. And yeah, just a disappointing end for them. What a great season they had. I believe there is an NIT NCAA volleyball tournament, so they might actually get invited to the postseason.
So you finish your season 27-3,
Great, yeah.
and you can't get an at-large bid.
No, because of the strength of schedule, and trust me, I'm like you. I think that you go 27-3, and you should be, no question, you should be in the postseason somehow. I mean, that's just too good of a season. But we'll see.
They've already extended NCAA invites at this point.
No, they'll come out on Sunday, and I think Sunday afternoon at noon is when they announce the field. But I think their RPI is in the 90s. So, I mean, usually your RPI has got to be in the 40s or 50s if you're an at-large to get an at-large bid. So, I would be shocked if they got it. But yeah, I think, like I said, Dave Zelnick told me that there was an NIT, and I'm assuming if they get invited, they would go and play in that.
Okay. Dogs in that SoCon tournament up in Spartanburg did knock off ETSU last Friday, but on Saturday playing the Sanford Bulldogs were swept 3-0 there in Sparkle City. So they ended up losing the chance to win the conference title after getting the regular season title for Coach Zelnock's volleyball Dogs. But we have our fingers crossed that they get into the postseason, preferably the NCAA tournament. Anything else sports-wise from your department there, Andrew?
Nope.
All right. Well, I don't have anything from my department to add, so all I can say is for Andrew, thank you for being on, and thank you, sir, for your efforts this year on Citadel Gray Line. As we have, I'm not letting you off the hook. You got to come back next week for
right.
the finale. But since it is Thanksgiving week, I want to be very thankful for you and all that you've offered, and for our great audience as well. And hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving.
And dittos back to you. A happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and everybody out there in Citadel Bulldog Nation. It's been a pleasure being on, and I always enjoy talking sports.
All right. Well, next week, do you think we can go through the schedule for 24? Is that kind of sort of out?
I will. Yeah, I'll find out who their non-conference is. Their non-conference is going to be much more. I mean, they play at Clemson. I know late in November, like kind of like the game in between whoever their last ACC game is, and then South Carolina.
Okay.
I know that's one of them. I think Charleston Southern is another one. I think they opened the season at Charleston Southern next year. But I'll get all their non-conference stuff. I don't know about when exactly. I'll look into that. How about that?
All right. Sounds good. Andrew, thank you again, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
And again, for all of you, thank you for tuning in, Citadel Gray Line, on our wonderful Facebook page. We will see you for our finale next week. Thomas Scruggs, we hope to get him back here for that. And again, happy Thanksgiving to all y'all.